Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. We're your co-hosts, Joan Newcomb, coming to you from Tacoma, Washington, and my partner, Janet Barrett's coming to you from Portland, Oregon.
Hello, everyone. It's so nice to be with you at the end of an old year.
Of an era.
This is great. Yeah, that's true.
Today on Conscious Conversations, we are talking about memories and their influence, reflecting on our pasts, how they might be continuing to dictate our futures. We know our current emotions color our memories. And also we know that there is no time or space as consciousness. So when we are aligned as consciousness, we are in the present moment, and the past dissolves, and the future becomes possibilities. So stay tuned today to learn how we separate our truths from our fictionalized versions to help create new patterns to enjoying life.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Here is an invitation to go deeper with us, to connect with us beyond the show. You can go to our website, Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. You can listen to the podcasts there, so all our old shows are there. You can also find our websites, Janet's website and my website. You can also read our blog posts that we put out each week. And also you can learn about our meetups.
Which are great experiences, by the way.
Yes. And our meetups, Janet does 2 of them in Portland, and I do a lot of them all around the Puget Sound. My next ones coming up actually are in Tacoma on January 7th and in Bellevue on January 8th. And then you can also connect to us about our sessions. Connect to us about our sessions. Janet does lots of wonderful sessions on Skype and phone, and I do sessions. Actually, this is the final week to get in touch with me one-on-one, because I'm only doing long-term coaching programs starting in January. So if you have been putting off getting a one-on-one session with me, a one-time only session, go to my website, joan-newcomb.com, and book me right away. And let me see, you can also find us on Facebook. So if that is your favorite milieu, we are on Facebook, Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. You can join the group and join the fun. You can also follow Janet on Facebook. She is Joan Barrett. She is Janet Barrett. We are just all over the place today. Janet Barrett, and I am Joan Marjorie Newcomb there. You can also follow us on Twitter, and that must have been a tweet. You can follow us on Twitter. And Joan and Janet is our Twitter handle, and my Twitter handle is Joan M. Newcomb. And where else? Oh, YouTube. We're in YouTube.
Subscribe. Yeah.
Yeah, you just subscribe to us on YouTube. And I'm also on YouTube as well. I do my Mystic Minutes on YouTube, but you can find those on our website as well. So,
and let me tell people about our Conscious Conversation. Right?
Yes.
We're going to have Thursday, January 19th, 7 p.m. Pacific. It's our conference call. And we're looking forward, if you're interested and you want to start the new year off right and get more of accessing what heart-centered awareness is in a smaller group format, we totally suggest joining us on our free conference call, because we've got so much that shows up for those that tune in at that time, and it's all geared towards who shows up at that time, and then it plays out to all of us who are listening over 190 countries. So please consider, and you get a hold of us at Conscious with Joan and Janet at Gmail, and you'll get all the information there.
yeah.
What a wild day, Joan. The end of the year. It's the end of the year information.
That is actually what's going on, is that we're just right in between the holiday, the holiday in one weekend and New Year's on the next weekend, and it is fast and furious. There is just so much coming up. And, your topic is just, it's Janet's fault. This is her topic, about memories and their influence. And this is such a time of year. I mean, on one hand, the veils are thinner now, so there's also a lot of connection with the other side. And the holidays bring up a lot of memories as well.
Yeah, and I think, one thing we're feeling is about time. right? We're in between, and that's all kind of time-oriented. And in consciousness, as consciousness, there is no time or space. It's just about the present. So we feel this. We can feel these differences. And for those of us that really celebrate ourselves as consciousness, that big overview and being present. And that's what I became aware of, is this is what we set up as a time to reflect, set new courses, deal with the old kind of thing. And that's all about memory-based. And anymore we understand that those present emotions, when we reflect on the past, will color that memory. And how that is useful, helpful, not what is going on with us. And since there is no time or space in consciousness, how does that come to play with what you think is your memory? So
that was a lot. That was a lot. I have no idea where we are right now, because I'm in the past, I'm in the future. I am feeling like the Christmas Carol and the ghost of Christmas past.
Christmas past. Well,
Marley was dead. That was it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the delight of consciousness, is that you can be in all this experience. The body, the mind has ways to navigate this density and effort form that you tag it as, and how we slip in and out of all this stuff, and what is at play in what we notice in the world. And this started a conversation between the two of us, is how consciousness plays in this, and to me, most people live out of the past. They're not really present. And that past is still active. So it's really not the past, it's the present. So it is consciousness at play. And I just wanted to look at it that way. And I hadn't till the subject came up. So what do you notice about time and memories and all that? Is that more of a... Because we all have our memory. You remember things.
Okay, so my experience or my awareness of memories, I kind of think we are picture galleries. And from the moment we're conceived, we are collecting pictures that are projected at us, and we are creating pictures, so we're projecting pictures. That's not even counting coming in with all sorts of information and knowledge. So by the time we're adults, we're just these veritable picture galleries. And the pictures will have emotions attached to them. And I would say, for some people, 90% of the time, they're walking around viewing life through emotion-colored pictures. Mm-hmm. It's easier to kind of frame or understand in terms of post-traumatic stress when people get triggered and suddenly they're back in the jungles of Vietnam, or they're, 4 years old at their grandma's house, or whatever's gone on. And so, you talk about the influence of memories is we're not in the present moment when we are viewing things through those slides. And we become temporarily unconscious is what happens. We revert back to whatever age that was. We're not interacting with our spouse. We're not interacting with our families in present time. We're interacting with what our memories are of them. And there are just a lot of, there's a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff comes up now. So this is a really primo time to shine the light of consciousness on it. And when you're fully in the present moment, a lot of that stuff just drops away. And when you're fully being yourself as consciousness, you can recognize those pictures and respond rather than react. But I also suspect that dropping in heart space will change the subject that we're talking about absolutely completely. I mean, we're just like, well, I don't remember what the problem was, but so
well, and I appreciate the way you're looking at that, and then I'm also thinking, so the memory becomes the present, right? We lose track, so. and that's we think we're in that state again. We are in that state again of whatever was going on. So for me, that is consciousness, and you lose sense of time and space, and all different kinds of ways to feel through this.
I didn't follow most of what you were saying, but
well, you slip out.
It started to sound like
reality.
something I had just said, and then it said the opposite.
Right. So I think that's kind of it. We go back and forth. So my sense is that time is a construct. We need a sense of time in this human reality, right? Whatever you want to define that is. It's a placeholder. It's a way to know. The brain needs to know where it is so it knows what to do next, kind of thing. I had this all thought out the other day. And then, but in consciousness, there's no time. So it's like shifting reality states. You can do a parallel universe. Maybe that's, it's that intentional or unintentional shift where what you thought was a memory is active. It's no longer a memory. You don't relate to it as a memory. You relate to it as real, and it's happening now. And so that's our ability as working with consciousness technologies is to access the state of that pattern and to play with it in that way. And then you can change things. You can shift how your orientation, the emotional terrain that's been holding it a certain way. So that's the way I guess I'm looking at it. So.
I like that. Just want to let our listeners know is that this is actually very typical of a conversation that Jan and I have all the time anyway. So I was like sitting here and enjoying your explanation of it just now, Janet, after going from I don't understand what she's saying to, oh, I really love talking with Janet. So I'm really looking forward to see how this shifts when we go into heart space. So why don't we stop for a commercial break and stay tuned because we're going to be talking about memories and their influences when we come right back.
Is your soul calling you to do something more meaningful with your life? Do you feel crazy for wanting to quit your secure job? Perhaps you are waiting until you retire to do what you love. Maybe you are too daunted to follow your dream. If any of these match your life, then Joan Newcomb's Purpose and Passion Coaching Program is just for you. In just 12 weeks, you will discover who you essentially are and why you are here. Learn to live as your greater self and navigate with conscious mastery. Go to joan-newcomb.com. That's joan-newcomb.com for all of her coaching programs.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan, along with Janet. We are talking about memories and their influence. This is the time, Janet, you're going to take us into heart-centered awareness.
Well, we'll see if things kind of smooth out there because we're noticing a lot of flux and stuff. And it could be the difference between where we think we are, what we know ourselves to be, and then none of that. So everyone, as a great practice for the end of the year, because this is kind of where we're at right now, why don't we just put all that aside? And why don't we just focus on being present in the moment? So the part of you that can do that with us, we celebrate and we invite to play along and just breathe. So just notice the breath. and bring your awareness into your heart. Physical heart, start there. And be appreciative and grateful that you have it beating. It has done a magnificent job this year and every year before. Oh, yeah, let's just ease on down the road that way. Then notice the emotional terrain, which is really kind of what we're talking about today. And notice what's up and running. Do it from a neutral place. Don't be disturbed by what you notice, because that doesn't usually help, except to notice that you're disturbed. So just let it all settle. And for that that's up and running and busy, we're just going to let it be up and running and busy. There are no rights and wrongs here. It's just information. So then let's go to that third meaning of heart, the core essence of all, where you and I are one. The individuality disappears, and we are just back to the infinite state of potential, which means little bits of photons of light, a little bit of biomass, resonances, frequencies, vibrations, and information, all falling into patterns that we think are us. But it's just back to the informational free fuzzy state. So nothing is nothing here until it's something. So you go from potential to energy back to potential. So this is where consciousness just reveals itself. So just notice. There we go. Oh, that's feeling better, Joan. What are you noticing, sweetie?
It definitely calmed down. And I'm just curious because there's so much that goes on in these weeks, and we might be tuning into aspects going on in the world that we're not aware of yet. So I'm curious about what's unfolding in the news as we talk, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you pay attention and realize that we create time zones, so someplace in the world, they're in a different time than we are, and we just really open up to the awareness that it's just information, energy that's vibrating out there.
Yeah.
So right there, we're playing with, there is a sense of, is it the future, is it the past? It's what you're noticing in the present is, oh, I feel something. It's kind of nice when we can put the label to it that, oh, something happened here and something happened there, or something's waiting to happen. And some of us really are very good at tracking what will be coming up in that awareness that something will be happening. But so it's a memory that hasn't yet hit as a memory.
Well, as my experience is consciousness. Is there's no time or space. And one of the things I notice as I navigate my life as consciousness is I'm more aware of the past and the future all happening at once. Mm-hmm. And I actually had some moments recently where it was really uncomfortable. And I was they weren't flashbacks because they weren't memories. Mm-hmm. So I'm concerned that they were flash forwards. Whatever the opposite of deja vu was. But I was having flashes of places in Washington, D.C. that I'm familiar with because I was there for 2 years with helping my mother pass. But it wasn't from a past memory. It wasn't, I remember driving along MacArthur Boulevard going towards Potomac kind of thing. It was like, there's that spot. But I was like now. In the now with that spot. Mm-hmm. So I started thinking, Do I have a relative visiting there right now? No, I don't. I don't know what I'm picking up on. It was very nee, 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 nee. Anyway, I guess most of our life is nee, 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 isn't it?
It certainly is, isn't it? Well, we human desperately want to know what things are, right? We want that label. That's an act of intelligence to be able to create something. And so much is just loose information because we track it as that, but we fail to see it as that. We fail to recognize it as that. And so we can be in all these different states of information when, as consciousness, because like you said, there's only the present. And so, a lot of what we've been tracking globally in these last couple months, it has felt like old stuff that happened a long time ago, but in the state of consciousness, it's still active. There is no time or space with it. So it is this, we are tapping in. So it's not even our memory as humans that we're tapping in, because I physically wasn't in that war. So I'm tapping into a collective memory or all these different layers of awareness.
Was your father in that war?
My father was in that war. Yes, if we say World War II, that's the one I can,
Yeah.
And a majority of that, a majority of those placeholders who experienced that are passing, right? They've gotten to an age where a lot of them are passing, and since there is no death per se, because information just becomes something else again, that's loose information now when you think about it. So where do those particles of awareness go, right? And maybe, yesterday I was driving and there was fog, and I was looking at the lamppost and how the light was on, and the different terrain that happens when you have a light on in the fog as opposed to a clear day or as opposed to night. And you can see all the little bits and pieces and particles. And I was looking at those bits and pieces and particles in the air and the water droplets. And I was like, whoa, that's there all the time. Now I'm seeing it, right? My human eye is able to see it. But I think, dust to dust kind of thing, it doesn't land any place. It's everywhere.
Well, that's interesting. Ashes to ashes and dust to dust.
Right.
And it sounded like perhaps you were actually experiencing your father's experience, because World War II was real to him.
Yeah.
And that's something I actually also experienced just recently. I mean, my mother has just been around all the time. And there's been, she's around all the time anyway, but this has been more visceral, to the point that I was taking a walk and I'm like, she's in my cellular system. What is going on? And I don't know what's going on, except that it's a visceral reality. And it was really, and it wasn't her as her old Alzheimer's person. It was the essence of who she is as a person. Mm-hmm. So,
so she wasn't a memory.
It wasn't a memory. No, this is a her now kind of experience.
Yes.
So, I don't have an answer for, except that maybe it is that the veils are thinner, or that we've all leapt up to another heightened level of awareness. And so, and this is how I'm experiencing it, is, past and future becoming much more liquid, and feeling people waft through my space. So it wasn't like a ghost or anything, or a dead person even.
So, Joan, was there a sense of joy in that?
No. I know what you're getting at, because I have had that with, when someone's passed, you can actually have the love that you can experience with them that couldn't have been possible in the present or in the body, because all the personality stuff. I didn't really have that conflict with my mother in that way, and as she was passing, I was very aware of her as a being, even though I was dealing with her Alzheimer's person. And since she's been passed, I've had, I've had an awareness of her as the essence of who she is. But it's a much more visceral thing now, and it's a little bit like waking up and finding somebody else also occupying your cells.
Well, I think I was referring to it as your mother was in you, and she has no longer form, so she can't, because she's you often sense her around you, that she was experiencing the walk.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
And so it was her dynamics coming back and experiencing the walk. And so what came to mind was a sense of joy. Was it related to, oh, I'm experiencing the walk, as opposed to maybe she was in a different emotional state, and maybe that's what you were feeling also as part of it. Those of us who have histories of being channels and things like that, the boundaries, those veils are very thin. Yeah. I hope you had a great walk.
Oh yeah, and I have great walks anyway, and I'm aware of taking walks with her, but not in the place where she's actually in my physical space as well. So that was, because I have a thing about channeling. I just want to channel myself. So it wasn't that it was like, wow, did I make an agreement to allow her to feel physical reality? I don't know. So, what has this anything to do with our topic? What was our topic today?
Memories.
Okay, right. So, all right, because we started with like maybe, I know, because as my mother was passing, I mean, in her months, the past was more real to her than the future, and she had vivid memories of when it was VE Day. And actually there was also, she had a story of being in class for D-Day, and the teacher had everybody knew something was going to happen, but they didn't know when it was going to happen, and so everybody put in a bet for when that was going to happen, and the person who was going to win it would get would pass the class, pass the grades. And so D-Day happened like the week before finals, and the person who won was the worst student in class. And my mother knew the girl's name and everything from that. So it was anyway, yes, so that's her memory. That's a memory.
Well, what came to mind is, we always do these end of the year reflections. And I love those shows on TV because it reminds me of, we get so involved in being present that you can lose track of, because you're being present. So there's only so much, I think, in that container sometimes that we consciously can track as human, right? So it's like, oh, right. Oh, okay. So it's full of remembrance for me, and it's full of, it touches me again. It connects me again with being present in the historical context. And I appreciate that, because so much of what I do track is free of time, right? Because that's what we do is consciousness. So I was looking for how do we update? How do we feel good? How do we reflect? And in a way that's useful. Right? A lot of us can be triggered by these personal experiences, and we have a great deal of emotional terrain around it. And it's not always helpful because it puts us back into that emotional state. And then we get our current emotional state on top of it, and it colors it. And what we were feeling then never really gets resolved. It just gets buried and buried and buried. And I know I spend a lot of my work with people going back to what the emotional content was in an experience and freeing that up in the dynamics of how it was serving. And I just like to share with people that maybe this time, this conversation question that you have in this place we call the end of the year, that was it all bad? Was it all good? How are you classifying things? And that maybe there's a different way if we put potential and if we access this heart state that you can notice differences.
Yeah, and accessing this heart space really takes the drama out of it. It evens it out, don't you know? It does. It's.
Yeah.
I keep thinking of the guy on Office Space who, gets hypnotized and the hypnotist keels over before taking him out. So, so then he goes back to his work in his cubicle and his Hawaiian shirt and, hey, I'm going to go talk to the Bobs, and doesn't care about the TPS reports. And, sorry, it's a really popular movie in our house. And so it really feels like that. It feels like, suddenly we're all living in Hawaii and it's all good, man. So.
Yeah, that's the power of this state. We access intentionally in group. We do it. I do offer a couple times a week in my home, and it's just amazing how whatever is tickling us, and we have to reframe things. Because as consciousness you realize, okay, there's your personal emotional attachment in there, and that's the way I've got it programmed, but okay, take a seat back here and let's look at a bigger picture of it and get out of that. And it just gets so quiet. Often, we can just register, oh, there's all that stuff. Oh, where's the stuff? What happened to the stuff? Which is the joy of doing this show with you, is because, we get to that place where the stuff isn't anymore.
That is true. I have completely lost track of time. I don't know where we are.
10 minutes. We have another 10 minutes.
Okay, so it sounds like that's an appropriate time.
10 minutes till our commercial break.
Oh, great. I'm so glad. Yeah. Janet, usually I'm the one keeping track of time, but I'm down on a lazy river.
There we go. Definitely. So what do we want to do with our memories, Joan? They're powerful. They're powerful. And how are they helpful?
Yes. Having helped my mother pass with Alzheimer's, I'd like to retain my short-term memory as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to.
And you need it. See, you need it to navigate the day, right? I mean, that's why we have memory. We need it to know where we are during the day, and not that we need to know where we are during the day just because, but because it's an anchoring mechanism. It's a centering. So the brain, humans need it. Now, and then you got long-term memory, right? And that's pretty much the one that can keep you stirred up. And so we need both kinds of memories. So we don't want to say we don't want them. They're good to have. And when can they be more useful than others? Because if you stay stuck in the past, in the human sense, you're trapped. Right? It keeps you at odds. There can be no healing. There can be no détente. There can be no nothing because you can't forget. That information stays so present. And I think we have to get over ourselves sometimes. Lose our sense of others and go back to, as consciousness, that we're all one.
Yeah, I stumble over that phrase, getting over yourself. What's another way to say that?
I think it's resistance, right? And something wants to stay a certain way, and you have to realize that that's just that thing, and it's not helpful to hold that line of thinking and line of feeling, and so how much of us is, if consciousness is not just about flow, but it operates out of all, it's a spectrum. And so in that, dynamics can be flow, they can be stagnant, and that stagnant quality is about flow still. So something's moving and something's not. And you don't judge that. You just notice the outcomes of it. Do I want to be more in a flow place about this, or is this useful to be here with this? So does that help at all?
Oh, as much as anything helps.
I love you dearly, Joe. You're so great. It's been a great year, by the way. Let me take that commercial. It has been such a joy to work with you over the last couple of years.
Thank you. I bet people don't realize we do not have champagne on us.
Oh, and that's something. Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned that last week, but the sense that I find myself laughing a great deal, and I don't mean to laugh at people's tragedies, but I find myself, and I think that's the transcendence of all this stuff, is the laughter that gets released from it, because we're so flippin' funny. I mean, watch what people do and watch what they say, and you go, you gotta be kidding me. And on a personal note, I may have an objection to it, but as consciousness, it's just funny. And in that is the release, the transcending, because that goes to that higher vibration, that higher level that you talk about. And that's consciousness taking its leap forward. So I find great delight in people. I appreciate the tragedies that we can all encompass.
And I totally understand what you mean, because reality is getting so bizarre, so off the wall, so outrageous, that if it wasn't so tragic, it would be funny. Or if it wasn't so potentially life-ending, it would be funny.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's
on a human level, it's not, certainly. Yeah. But as consciousness, it's like, it's kind of like releasing gas, I mean, you eat something and then you got to do something with it. Something happens at the other end. Please, I'm not here to make light of anyone's concerns.
Well, at least you're also not passing gas.
Well, I'm sitting alone in my studio. Who knows?
Beano. This is an ad for Beano.
Beano, there you go. Yeah. So, what else do we notice out there? I think what's interesting is we're noticing the quiet again.
Yes. Oh, I so appreciate that. I so needed that over the last several weeks.
Well,
it's been very noisy.
We get very pushed for time, and I know we've all got things to do and places to be and people to meet and stuff to do and get done. And it's like all kinds of stops here. That chatter stops. And then you got all the emotional terrain, and then you got all the physical terrain, and you get... I think sometimes you and I are the best way we serve is to just bring into people's awareness of how many different dynamics can go on that you could experience, right? And you can't track it all, but everybody's feeling this stuff. And that's why I appreciate the wisdom of the 60,000-year-old Aborigines and the heart of the whale. It's the size of a Volkswagen bug. There are places and examples that we have as consciousness where it's not all that. It's not all that chatter. It's not all that noise. And it's within each of us.
Yeah, I was musing on that because I really loved the one about the Aborigines.
Robbie Holtz.
Thank you. Name was on the tip of my melting little brain here. Love that one, and I also love the one with Anne, can't pronounce her last name, Whales and Dolphins person. And
Anne, yeah.
And And when you touch that ancient energy, and for instance, the street that I'm on, the neighborhood I'm in, is one of the earliest neighborhoods in Tacoma. So you have these old growth trees that are, 8 feet around. There's some just amazing trees here, and another way is thinking about being at the redwoods, and they embody the timelessness of the all. And how does that match with my awareness of consciousness and what's happening in kind of an upgraded or speeded up level? They are the placeholders for the base reality here.
Yeah. And they're kind of older than man, right? Even the 60,000-year-old Aborigine culture, is a collective of members that have certainly passed over and passed on and left behind their awareness and their state of minds and states of reality. And blue whales seem to be one of those timeless creatures, right? They operate at a whole different level from what our physical experience was in sensing them energetically. And the trees, you stand around a tree and you can just, the truth of hugging a tree that, has no human reference, right? It's its own nature. The things that we use to mark time and accomplishment and all the things that are busy being important to us have no meaning to a tree. And that's kind of nice.
This came up the other day with some people in one of the meetups I was talking to, and there's a great concern about global warming, and we need to take responsibility for what we're doing to the planet, and I, on one level, I think about it is that we're not as powerful as we think we are, because the earth can just shrug its shoulders and there's a tsunami. And as consciousness, I'm also aware that change can happen in the blink of an eye. And we've got in the storyline here the story of global warming and all this incredible science and evidence of things changing. And I also sit back and go, I'm curious about the brilliant mind that will come up with a solution. That there will be a correction written into the script at some point. That,
or the consortium that'll come together to do that, right? Many viewpoints.
Oh, right. Okay, so more than one brilliant mind, many minds.
Bring trust. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Do you think it's time to go to break?
We've got a couple minutes. We can do it now.
Let's go now. That way I stop having to look at my watch.
Okay.
All right. So you're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan, along here with Janet, and we have to go to a commercial break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back in a few minutes.
Would you like a fresh approach to the challenges you are dealing with? Take a journey into your enlightenment with Janet Barrett. Janet is a subtle energies empath accessing the field of potential with warmth, humor, and support. She will help you to hear what your inner voice is saying. She will share with you how to appreciate who you are now and offer you new ways to understand and transform your issues. Reach her at www.janetandbeyond.com. That's janetandbeyond.com. Again, janetandbeyond.com. Transformation is possible. You can enjoy new outcomes in your current experiences. They can happen in the blink of an eye.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan, along here with Janet, and we are talking about memories and their influence.
Yeah, they do influence us, don't they?
Yes. What do you have to say about that, Janet?
Well, you know, as I get of a certain age now, okay, I'm 62, I'll confess. And I do things where I have to remember the past. The attachment to the order, the attachment to the circumstances really is loosey-goosey when it used to be really, I knew exactly when this was in relation to this and to that. And now I find that that's kind of wiggly, which I really appreciate because it's telling me that stuff has happened that is effective, that those patterns maybe are in change. And it also shows up where there's still energy focused on them. And that's more interesting to me because now I can pay attention to that in my wisdom that I incorporate as being me, as consciousness, and look at it in a new way in this present time with it and relate to it differently. And perhaps the next time I need to pull that information up, it'll be different. So,
yeah. You know, it's like we don't have to delete all our pictures.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
And we can enjoy them just the way we enjoy opening up a picture album. But we don't have to haul that picture album around when we need to go to Fred Meyer.
Yeah, really.
Just had an advertisement for that.
Well, some of us do that, don't we? We drag our baggage around. I've met people like that, you know. And it's like, can you let go of that? I wonder sometimes about people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where that memory is really still active. Still got a charge to it, I guess, because a lot of people use that terminology.
Yeah, though when we're in heart space, it neutralizes all that.
It does.
It's
really
a very
does.
pleasant space to be.
Yeah, we would recommend this to anyone. Learn how to do this, learn how to do it quick and easy with us, because that's all what we're about. And we want to use up our time differently, don't we, Joan? If we're going to be in the world that has the time, we want to be different with it. We don't have to do anything. We just want to be different. There we go. I have to put it in the right context.
Doobie doo.
And I want to thank you, Joan. It has been a lovely year of shows and time and friendship to be with you and do this. And Cameron, we have enjoyed CTR Network. And I'll put those reflections out there to everyone and to the audience. Oh, my God, you guys are so great. Thank you for all your support. And special.
You are bathing in appreciation, and we appreciate it. And I was reflecting on, actually, you and I started, I think I interviewed you on my radio show in 2013, and I might have interviewed you earlier than that, but then I took you on as my co-host for that old show. And it all evolved into us creating this Conscious Conversations. I think we went on the air with this show in August or September. Of 2014.
Yeah.
So we're a toddler.
We've been places and spaces, and we're looking to be bigger in the world, everybody. So if you share us, if you subscribe to us, all those kind of things, we so greatly appreciate being in your life. And you joining us as it improves our lives and what shows up in the world.
Well, and also stay tuned, because in January we're going to have some special offerings for you in a way that you can express your appreciation for us and get some really super groovy special stuff. For a very small expression of appreciation, but very special and dear to our hearts. So we are working on getting that out for you, and you will find it all in the new year.
Yeah, and whether you're a live listener or if you're joining us on a podcaster, right? I love it. I put that. That was really well done, Janet. Because we have
and all the dead people listening.
Yeah. Well, we got dead people listening. Give me a break. They're lined up. we so enjoy the interface. And you may not call us directly, and we are okay with that because we know you're out there.
Right. You're in our face. So.
Or in our headsets, anyway.
Yes. Listen, we want to let people know how to stay in touch with us, go deeper with us beyond the show. You can go to our website, consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com, and you can catch all the old shows there. Where all our archives, all our podcasts are there. You can also read our blogs. We put out new content every week. Janet on Monday and me on Friday, so we can just keep your busy, keep your brain cells busy. We also do meetups, and Janet does meetups on Tuesday and on Thursday, and then I do meetups on all over the place, all around the Puget Sound, mostly on weekends. And then you can also find us on Facebook, Joan Marjorie Newcomb on Facebook, Janet Barrett on Facebook, or of course, Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. Join the group and join the fun. And the radio show is on Twitter at Joan and Janet, and I am on Twitter at Joan M. Newcomb. And we are on YouTube, and you can actually see our YouTubes on our website, and you can see my Mystic Minute YouTubes on the website as well.
And then please join us for our free Conscious Conference call Thursday, January 19th, 7 p.m. Pacific. Great way to start the year. I'm sure we'll be looking at reflections and new adventures and different things we want to organize in our life, and with a small group of people to really just sit and bask in heart space, because that's pretty much what we do, don't you think, Joan? We just resonate.
We start calling each other by each other's names.
Yeah, there we go. Did I say Joan? Oh gosh, sorry.
You started to say you started to say Janet, but that's okay.
Oh, okay. I've lost all track of time.
We're just all reflections of each other.
Exactly. But don't you enjoy the heart? I mean, it's
I do. And you know, it's just, we need more of this in the world. We do not access heart space in the world, and wouldn't all this transform if we all just collectively were more in our heart space.
And as far as we know, we're the only ones who do this. Right? Put it out over the air. This is real time for you to interact with, whether you're asleep or awake, and that it's real. And we look to make that. There are so many wonderful shows out there, and you wonder why this or why that. And the reason that we feel so strongly about what we do is because we look to invite you into it in real time. And, be a part of the group. Right?
Yeah.
So often meditation is by yourself and things like that. So here we go. Yeah. What an end of the year, Joan.
Yes. And, the new year is still forming. We know that our next show is going to be all about new beginnings, and new beginnings, fresh starts. Maybe the futility of setting intentions. Who knows? But we're also tuned into whether current events are happening. So sometimes it's like stuff is brewing, and we'll be writing it before then. So
thank you, everyone. It's been a wonderful year to be with you. I know some of us don't think of it that way, but it's been quite a ride.
Yeah. And no matter when you're listening to us, because there's no time or space as consciousness, you are helping to create this experience now in the moment, in the collective moment that is nonlinear. So we just want to appreciate you for that as well. And you've been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan Newcomb.
And I'm Janet Barrett, and Happy New Year, everyone.
Yeah, tune in next week. Same time, same channels.
You've been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. And thanks so much for helping to co-create the show, no matter if you're listening live or on demand. You energetically contribute to our collective experience. Joan and Janet love to hear from you and invite you to email your comments and ideas for them to explore each week. Contact them at consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Tune in next week for another great show, and until then, keep enjoying this wonderful adventure we call life.